All right. Well, hello again. I'm Yas ND. I am a naturopathic physician and I have a practice in Scottsdale, Arizona. And essentially what I do and focus on is really to help people live more naturally, get better from their health concerns, whatever they might be, by turning to lifestyle and giving them nutritional help and support, as well as targeted supplementation, minerals, herbs, all kinds of natural medicines that would really help to bring their body back to a state of balance. But not just treating their health condition, but really treating them as a person. So I really discuss with them any kind of mental, emotional, spiritual concerns that might be going on. So it's a very 360-degree look at whatever their health concerns are.
Okay, so you truly dive in deep into who's this person, what are they trying to fix. It's not just what medication can I supply them, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And I do work with a lot of patients who are on medications, so the treatments that I give them don't interact with their medications, and ultimately we find that as they get healthier, they're able to wean off of their medications.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first episode that we did, a lot of the listeners liked our short little section of just like gut health. And as I told you earlier, most of my audience is about my age, and we tend to struggle. I don't know if it's because we're going through growing pains or just the bad diets that we're having or what it is, but how can having a healthy lifestyle, including more, like you said, minerals, supplements, healthy foods, organic stuff, drinking more water, just being more hydrated or just healthy all over, exercise, how can that affect our gut health or just overall well-being to not just cure depression and anxiety, because some people do need medication, unfortunately, but how can having a self-care routine or just being more healthy help our body?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just like running the engine of your car, let's say, or maintaining your laptop. It's going to need a lot of support and regular maintenance checkups. So just like our bodies, we a lot of times treat it as though, you know, it can take so much wear and tear, but having those basics, as you mentioned, drinking enough water for your body type, and drinking not just enough water, but the right type of water.
Oh.
Yeah. So for instance, a lot of people will drink bottled water or tap water or reverse osmosis water. And a lot of times they don't contain the right types of minerals in them, or they might have toxins inside of them. And so it can cause more damage than good. So I always ask people, how much are you drinking? What kind of water are you drinking? Exercise. So again, I think all these should be individualized because every person has different needs. But just getting regular movement in, which is typically recommended 30 minutes a day or more, will be helpful and beneficial. Sleep is another one that we take for granted, especially the younger population.
I only get 5 hours.
Oh,
it's
no!
So bad.
Don't tell me that.
So bad. I just do so much.
Oh my gosh.
I know I should prioritize it, but I'm like, if I just get 5 hours, I'll be good. But I should prioritize my day differently because it is important.
Yes, exactly. And that's the thing. We think we can get away with so much in our 20s, but a lot of people that come in their 30s and 40s, they have health conditions that started back in their 20s or younger. So I know sleep is huge. And again, there's no one size fits all with how many hours exactly. Recommended 7 to 10. So some people literally need 10 hours for their body. Some people get away with 7, sometimes 6.5, but I would not recommend
lower
than 7 on a continual basis. And also it's not just the amount, just like with water, it's not the amount, it's also the quality of your sleep. So if you're waking up multiple times a night, even if you're getting 8 hours, or you're waking up at least even once a night to urinate, or you just wake up for whatever reason, I say we have to optimize that to make sure you have deep sleep.
Okay. And the people that tend to wake up in the middle of the night, I sleep through my 5 hours. Okay, I do not wake up. When I'm asleep, I'm asleep. But the people that tend to wake up, so I have a coworker. She goes to bed on time, 9 a.m. and wakes up at 7. So she gets a good amount of sleep, but she wakes up a lot. Are there certain causes, like generalizations or things that tend to cause a person to, is it disturb the REM sleep or their sleep cycles?
Yeah, so there are a lot of factors. I could just throw out a bunch right now. One, I would say take a look at her cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone. Okay. So if those are out of balance, then that could cause the nervous system to not be functioning as appropriately. Her sympathetic and parasympathetic, so again, does she have a lot of stress in her life, a lot of anxiety throughout the day that's causing her body not to be able to relax? Sleep hygiene, that's such an easy one that most of us don't do, and I could go into all the nitty gritty of that.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Because it's what I tell everybody is ensuring a proper environment for sleep. So making sure that you have routine. You don't go to bed one night at 9 and then the next one at 1 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
So keeping it as consistent as possible, and then sleeping in a really dark room. So I recommend getting like blackout curtains from Amazon for $15, or wearing a sleep mask. The third thing is having a cooler room temperature. So a lot of people say, oh my gosh, I can't do this. Right. But you can wean the temperature down to somewhere between 65 to 70 is ideal.
Is that why we sleep, or I sleep way better in the wintertime?
Probably, yeah.
Because, oh girl, I feel like rested. I think that's why I love the winter, because I feel more rested during those nights. That
it can potentially be because it's cooler. So highly recommend cooler temperatures. And then this is the one that's also really hard for a lot of people is usage of electronics. Right, like an hour before bed, it's recommended to have like no use of electronics because of the light, unless you get one of those screen what is it called for your laptop? The ones that will pretty much protect you from that bright light getting emitted.
Right.
Also in your home, try not to have, fluorescent lighting or bright lights. So there's like a bunch of tips that you could do to ensure good sleep quality. So we have cortisol, nervous system, sleep hygiene, gut health is another one. So if your gut health is out of balance, ultimately that can be a cause for why you're not sleeping, because the gut bacteria help you fall asleep.
Yeah. I did not know that.
Yeah, they do it indirectly. And then nutritionally, if you're having too little of certain minerals like magnesium, a lot of people are magnesium deficient, so that can be a cause. If you are having too little B vitamins, that can create anxiety, stress. Or if you have too much sugar, too much caffeine late in the day, again, any kinds of foods that are inflammatory, that can cause that kind of hyperactive response. There's so many others, but those are just a few that I'd like to share at this point, and then other things we'd have to investigate further for.
So she takes melatonin. Would you suggest, is that a good Band-Aid to put on it, or would she need to see her care physician? Like what would you recommend?
It depends on how long she's been experiencing it. So if it's something that's been going on for a few months now, or a year or a couple years, highly would recommend not continuing the melatonin, because you really ultimately want your body to be able to produce its own melatonin. And what I mentioned with the dark room, that's the best way to get the melatonin to get secreted. Yeah, so that's why I suggest not having bright lights or electronics, because you want your brain to have a chance to really shut down and then be completely dark so that your pineal gland can produce that melatonin. And then the other thing being, you said melatonin. So I do recommend natural sleep support in just the first couple of months for my patients, just to get them to fall asleep. But then ultimately, we're always working for the underlying causes.
Right. Not just putting Band-Aids
Exactly.
on them.
Even natural Band-Aids we do not want to do.
Okay.
Yeah. Temporarily, it's okay, but long term, no. Yeah.
So going back on water. So early this year, I found out that bottled water is acidic. I didn't know that. I didn't know bottled water had the capacity to even be acidic. I just thought water was water. And how different waters give us different, what would you say, nutrition or?
Minerals.
What type of water would you recommend?
So there's a lot of different types of water filters these days. The one that I personally use and recommend is a Berkey water filter.
Okay.
I've just been using it because it really purifies the toxins, bacteria, parasites, and it maintains the minerals. But I know there's newer systems using UV light, so I actually wrote an article on it, so I can send it to you.
Give me the link. I'll attach it to the podcast.
Okay. So those are the two that come to the top of my head. Reverse osmosis, like I said, it does purify, but it leaches all the minerals. So unless you're adding minerals back in, it's a disservice to you. So if you have one at home, just make sure you add some trace minerals to it. And then bottled water, you said acidic. So actually 40% of bottled water is actually tap water. So
oh my god.
Yeah,
okay.
So you want to make sure, unless you're getting like the really high quality water bottles,
like Fiji water.
Yeah, like Fiji water. Yeah, most of them are just unfortunately not high quality.
When I found that out, I was like, water and being acidic, like how's that possible? I thought water was like neutral.
Yeah.
But I guess
just depending on how it's been treated.
Right. Does the plastic do anything?
Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up. So that's another reason. You have some good questions.
I know.
So that's another reason why I wouldn't recommend water bottles, because the plastic material can leach into the water, and then that disrupts your hormones because it creates estrogen disruption, because the plastics can act like estrogen in the body.
And for the people that don't know what estrogen is, what does estrogen do in the body?
Estrogen is a female hormone, and so for females, it's going to create those female sex characteristics, but then estrogen has like hundreds of other functions that's great for bone health, cardiovascular health, thyroid, brain.
So it would be like an empty estrogen mineral, whatever the plastic is pretending to be, right?
It would disrupt the normal balance and cause excess estrogen to build up, which is also harmful for our bodies. Too much estrogen is not a good thing.
Well, balance.
Yes,
of course,
exactly.
Okay, so for your patients that come in with anxiety or depression and things like that, what would you, when you ask about their diet, what typically do they tell you that they eat on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. So most people are not drinking enough water.
Okay.
In regards to food, a lot of times it's processed foods, microwave foods.
Okay.
I always, on my intake form, I have, do you microwave? And 99% of the time people do microwave because it's easy, it's fast. Even if you cook a home-cooked meal, I always recommend try your best to avoid the microwave as much as possible. And if you have to, don't like microwave for 4 minutes at a time, because it really kills off, it changes the protein structure of your food, so it kind of takes away the beneficial effects and adds radiation to it. But in regards to what people come in with, usually fast foods, processed boxed foods, frozen foods, very little vegetables and fruits. So standard American diet, dairy, gluten, sugar.
Okay, and that, I guess cleaning up your diet would then help improve their anxiety or depression, because the bad diet leads to the whenever I think of you, I think of leaky gut.
Yeah.
we talked about it so much in class. Does it lead to that, or does it make it worse? Like what?
Yeah. So an improper diet can cause a leaky gut, but there has to be other factors involved as well, like high stress and toxins. But if your diet is really terrible, that can potentially trigger a leaky gut response. Outside of that, if you're, let's say, having too much sugar, those unhealthy types of fats, like from fried foods and whatnot, that can disturb the microbial balance. And so when your gut bacteria are not, the beneficial ones aren't in their right ratio, they're supposed to help create chemicals that your brain uses to keep you calm and happy. So that can be a direct cause of, let's say, somebody who's finding themselves with depressed mood.
Okay. And how would someone know if they have leaky gut?
Typically, they have some kind of digestive symptom, so like constipation or diarrhea, bloating, gas, belching, all those symptoms. And then on top of that, leaky gut can translate to so many other systemic symptoms, from like skin symptoms like rashes, eczema, psoriasis, to headaches, to joint pain, thyroid concerns. So like every other system can be impacted somewhat.
You also, I remember you mentioning that your stomach is like another, was it brain or what was it that that you said it was?
The gut is called the second brain because your gut bacteria produce the chemicals that you use to then, for learning, memory, for mood. So that's why it's called your second brain. As well as it has its own neurons, which are nerve cells inside of the gut itself.
That's so crazy.
I know.
That makes me like, why did I feed my body those fries today? You know, you're and basically your body is a machine. Yeah. And we're like fueling it incorrectly.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're not taught, and it's so easy. Every block you go on, there's a restaurant, there's, all these yummy foods everywhere. So it just makes it harder. But that's why I suggest that you try to cook at home as much as possible, and then reserve, if you're relatively healthy, like it's okay to have those cheat meals, and you got to enjoy life too.
Right.
So don't feel guilty about the fries. But if you're doing it every single day, I'd be like, all right. Let's...
The limitations.
Yeah, please. Moderation and
right.
everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So to cut down on our microwave use, what are some tips that you can give us, or what type of meals should we start making to here and there we're gonna probably have to use a microwave, like you say, but in moderation.
Yes. So I would suggest for lunchtime, since most people are at work, if they can opt for more raw foods, so like salads or wraps, things that don't need microwave necessarily. You wouldn't want to microwave your salad.
Yeah, or your wrap.
Yeah. So, or foods that you would be okay eating cold or cool. So that would be like one tip. The other thing would be when you are at home for breakfast and for dinner, then I just heat things up on the stove. So I just get a pan out, add a little bit of water or oil, depending on what I prefer, and then I let the food cool at like a moderate heat. And it just takes 2 to 3 minutes, and the food's warmed up. Otherwise, you can throw it in a toaster oven. Some workplaces have toaster ovens, but again, you have to wait a little bit longer than the microwave.
You do.
But it's so worth it.
Right. But people tend to go for the convenience.
Exactly.
The faster
route. But it's so much more beneficial to do without the microwave. So. And I would definitely not cook in a microwave. That would be like
gross.
The worst case. Yeah,
like I see people put chicken in there. I'm like,
I know.
Okay. No, anyway.
Yeah.
What's your diet like? Because you look very healthy.
Thank you.
So how does your breakfast, lunch, dinner typically look like? And how much water do you drink?
So you can see, and they can't see, but do you see how big this is? This is a 64-ounce jug that I just bought recently. So you're supposed to drink half your body weight in fluid ounces each day. And I would recommend, if you're active or if you have caffeine, let's say, drink a little bit more to replenish on top of that. So I drink half my body weight in water, a little bit more actually each day. And for breakfast, typically it's a protein and vegetable. So either it's like, if I have eggs, I make sure I have like a nice half a side of broccoli, like cooked vegetables with it, spinach, or I do protein shakes, again with fruits and veggies in it. For lunches, depends, but it's always going to be some kind of protein, some kind of fat, like avocado, and then seeds, nuts, and then like vegetables. Like either it's going to be salad, like lettuce, or greens, or it's going to be mixed vegetables that I love roasting vegetables, so that's what I typically do. So it's kind of like, you could say paleo/ketogenic, but I'm not strict with the portion sizes. I just do, I just have a protein source, a fat source, and a vegetable source. Sometimes I'll do, let's say, gluten-free grains like quinoa, or starchy vegetables like sweet potatoes. But that's essentially my diet, is that. So
super whole food.
Yeah.
Super healthy.
Oh yeah. If you open my fridge, there's like nothing processed or boxed.
That's good though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you look healthy.
Oh.
Right? Yeah, because you're just feeding yourself with like natural stuff.
Yeah.
And that's where we're trying. Well, that's what I've been doing for the last couple, I would say 4 months. The bloating gone.
Wow.
My energy is, I don't need coffee anymore.
Nice.
And when I was drinking coffee, I would get like heartburn in the morning because I fast, and that coffee and an empty stomach is not like a good mix.
Yeah.
But the bloating is gone.
Nice.
Things just fit better now. More energy. The exercise has definitely helped. Less stress. I used to feel very high strung, and my skin reflected it, and now I'm like, I feel so much better because I did the lifestyle changes, but it requires discipline.
It does.
A lot of discipline. And getting home after the gym and being like, I just want to take a shower and go to bed, but no, I have to meal prep. I have to prepare myself for the week because, like you said, it's so convenient. We have a food provider where we just order and then they bring us our food. But it's, I don't know what they put in it. I don't know what's in it. I don't know if it's fried. I don't know what they're using. I don't know if it's gluten-free or like you said. And I found out that I'm lactose intolerant. I didn't know that until I stopped drinking milk. And I stuck to almond milk, coconut milk. I think I had rice milk, but I didn't really like rice milk. And then it was until I had cereal, finally, after like months. And it just was not fun. Like, does that tend to happen once you clean out your diet? Do you, because I used to drink milk and I had no problem, you know, consuming it. But now that I went from clean to all of a sudden a bowl of cereal,
Yeah, your body definitely desensitized to that. So once you took it completely out for a few months and then you had like not a huge bowl of cereal, but you had a nice serving size of milk, then a lot of times you'll find that you will have symptoms from it. So it can just be a natural response to your body isn't used to it, or you truly didn't respond well to milk before, but you weren't aware that you were sensitive to it.
That may be it.
Yeah.
That makes more sense than anything.
And you can always get tested on a food sensitivity panel to see if you truly do have a sensitivity or not. So that's the good news. But I'm so glad that you are a testimony to lifestyle changes on your own. And the other thing I would say, you said discipline. So after some time, though, once you get really into the rhythm of it, it does become your lifestyle. So it doesn't feel as much of a chore. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are days that I don't feel like cooking either. But for the most part, if I don't eat the way that I do, I feel really terrible within a day or two. Even just one bad meal can set me off. So it's hard not to be healthy now.
And the way that I would measure if I had a good meal or not is right after lunch, I would get that nap. I need to take nap feeling, you know, and then I'd be falling asleep on my desk, like typing. And I would tell myself, I'm like, this is not okay. Like, I am falling asleep at my job, you know, like I'm not performing optimally. And then that's when I had to step back and ask myself, okay, well, what am I doing? Well, I'm not sleeping, for one. And I run on coffee, and I have fast food for lunch. You know, that's not going to make me feel great once I come back and you have that insulin spike, and I'm just processing all the fries or whatever. And then now that I'm eating healthy, you know, being responsible, I don't get that 2:30 feeling anymore. I like breeze through the day, and before I know it, I'm like, oh, it's 4 o'clock, time to go home.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, and it's because I got my body on performing how it's supposed to perform. And it shouldn't be like, oh my God, I'm finally doing it. Wow, I'm so responsible. No, it should be the norm.
Exactly.
But because convenience is so unhealthy, you know, when people finally are healthy, people shouldn't have to celebrate it. It should be what's expected. That's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm here with you, because I want people to know that. Like, you should be healthy.
Yes, exactly. I know, it's amazing how far we've come from that model and that approach to just following the natural laws that we used to be so in touch with, and now we're not, and we're shocked when we get ill. A couple things I wanted to mention. So, you know, I hear a lot of people who are probably, I don't know about your listeners, but some people might be like, I hate vegetables, or I don't know how to cook, or I hate to cook, or I don't have time to cook. Those are usually the 4 barriers I hear. So either when it comes to you don't have time to cook, you don't know how to cook, or don't like it, either you're going to have to invest money into hiring somebody to do it for you, which there are a few companies that actually do organic, gluten-free, clean products, but most meal prep companies I haven't found to be truly good products. So either you're going to have to invest money, or you're going to have to invest your time to meal prep. But I recommend meal prepping twice a week, unless you like to cook every night. So that's one thing. I had another point, but I feel like I have so many points we're going back and forth.
No, for the people that say, I don't like vegetables, or I feel like, dude, grow up. Like, you're a grown up. Like, eat your broccoli. Like, it's not that hard, you know? Like, add seasoning to it. Like, why is eating healthy such a burden? That's what I don't understand.
Because, again, your taste buds have become accustomed to a certain flavor. However, taste buds can change. And so there's actually a clinic that they just do water fasting for patients that have cancer, really chronically ill. And the study that they did is, not study, but their experience was patients who come in the beginning, they give them this special diet, and then they put them through this water fast for a period of time, and then they give them the same exact diet to break the fast. And they're like, wow, this was the most delicious food I've ever eaten.
I wonder why.
I know. And it's not just because they've been starving for those few days, but it's because our taste buds do change. So people that say they hate vegetables, it's a matter of, one, the way you prepare, as you said, trying different methods of cooking. Like roasting vegetables tastes very different than raw vegetables. You can add them to curries, to soups. Make it whatever flavor you might like, and then you have to eat them until you actually acquire that taste. And sometimes, I'll be honest, like there's certain vegetables that I don't like the flavor of, but because I know how beneficial it is to my health, I'll eat it, or I'll sneak it into like a smoothie, let's say.
What vegetables don't you like?
Actually, there's very few. I think tomatoes are not my favorite, as well as what was the other one? I think okra. But I could do okra chips though. Those are really good.
Oh yeah.
Because they're crunchy. I mean, they're the actual okra that's like dried up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, dehydrated.
I can't do mushrooms.
Oh.
I have, for the life of me, been trying to do mushrooms because I've been doing more, ever since I'm in this health binge, you know, I've been like diving into like, what more vegetables can I feed my body with, you know, trying to make my food more colorful, even though mushrooms are brown. But I can't get over the taste. It tastes like dirt. Or I think of, it's a mushroom, you know, it's a fungus, you know, I can't get over that idea. So do you like mushrooms? What mushrooms do you recommend? Because I'm trying to grow up here and just start eating more.
I mean, sometimes you're just not going to like one vegetable, and that's okay. So if mushrooms are like the only one, you're not going to lose out on, you know, the rest of the vegetables. But like, for instance, portobello mushrooms, I don't know if you've tried that one, but that's a really good one that you can grill it. You can add balsamic vinegar and olive oil, or you can dice it up, add it to, like I said, soups or curries. So there's lots of ways to make it taste different.
Right, but like preparation, I guess. And maybe I overcooked them, maybe. I don't know, but I'm just trying to get around it. And now that I see like the benefits of eating healthy, when I see my family eating like fried foods or the way that they cook, and I see the kids eating that way, it like hurts me, because I'm like, they're not aware of the disservice that we're doing to them. Yeah,
if people knew how good they could feel, they probably wouldn't continue living the same way. At least most people. Some people just won't care in the end, but that's, again, everybody has a choice, and that's okay. It's not for us to judge. It's not for them to judge themselves. It's just you're making choices every day.
But do you think that also comes down with how much do you value your body?
I would say, yeah, for sure. It comes down to your basic values. So clearly, health isn't a huge priority for people that know this information and don't do it. For the most part, I would say it's just not at the top of their priorities.
Because I think to myself now, and I'm like, I only get one body, I only get one brain, I only get this machine. What can I do to make my experience more joyful or like pleasurable or just easy to go through, because I see people that are overweight or have chronic disease, and that all could have been prevented if they just had the right either information or cared enough to take care of themselves. Because there's tons of like well-off people that I know, and they don't want to make that step. They don't want to invest in themselves, and I'm like, why is being there for you, why is going that extra step for you, why is that so hard for people? But then it comes down to maybe they don't value themselves. Maybe they don't see themselves as a good enough person to invest in, which is sad, but I feel like that's the reality for most people.
Yeah, and sometimes, just to make it clear, like if people don't value themselves, there's a lot of different reasons. It's not just that they're lazy or they don't care. A lot of times there's traumas in their past. There's deep-rooted belief systems that they don't love themselves, they're unworthy, so there's so many other factors that could be involved. Or for instance, with a lot of the individuals who struggle with weight gain, emotionally, for some people that's a form of protection. So it's not that they don't value their health, it could just be that they've become so used to a certain way of being that you have to work on the emotional root first before the lifestyle practices come into play.
Are you a psychologist too?
Everybody asks me that. They're like, are you sure you're not a therapist? I love the human mind, and I love the emotional piece to health, so I always delve into that area with my patients.
And I feel like it all commingles.
It
everything.
does.
So if you're covering health, I'm pretty sure it's gonna tie to, maybe she's emotionally traumatized, or maybe she needs, I don't know, spiritual guiding or whatever. So at the end of the day, everything connects. I mean, that's how I think anyway.
Yes, exactly. So that's why it's really important to take a good case history and also get into all the other areas of their lives that's potentially creating the disturbance in their physiology. So like I said, a lot of times I'll ask people about their stressors, and then we'll find out this person hates their husband and that's what's stressing them out, or they're not getting along with their child, or they hate their work, or there's some kind of big stressor going on, and until we address that, we're not going to get them to do the lifestyle practices, and we're not going to get them fully healed until we take care of that. So
when your patients realize the factors that are causing them from being their best self, and you see them come to that realization, how does that make you feel? Like, do you feel like you help? Do you feel like a catalyst? Because if I were to be in your shoes, I would feel like, oh my God, I helped out, But how does that make you feel?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it does make me feel very grateful to be a part of their journey, and it's very exciting when they do have these aha moments, or when they come back feeling so much better just by changing a few things. It's very, very rewarding. So I'd say, overall, I've had a great experience. So, and sometimes with health, you take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So it's an expectation that they're not going to come back every month and feel on top of the world, because, again, something typically happens in their life. They have some kind of setback. But usually people start to feel better, and they'll keep that upward trend for the most part.
As long as they keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Unless something really traumatic happens.
Right. Which we hope not,
Yes, exactly. But such is life, so.
Yeah. Keeps us on our toes.
I know, exactly.
So you said that you found out some, thyroid discoveries, or what did you find out? What did you want to share?
Okay, not discoveries per se, because it has been revealed, so to speak, but just that I was mentioning to you that I'd been seeing a lot of Hashimoto's thyroid cases, which is an autoimmune disease that attacks the thyroid gland. And so what we keep seeing is that it's multifactorial, just like with every other disease condition, but in particular, Hashimoto's or other autoimmune diseases, one aspect is the nutritional piece, but then the next one is the gut health piece. Then it's addressing cortisol levels, so stress. But then what I'm really starting to see a lot is viruses, chronic viruses, as well as environmental toxins like heavy metals or toxins from our environment. Like we talked about the plastics, we can actually test you via urine to see about, oh my goodness, like 70 different environmental pollutants that can be impacting your health. And if your toxic load is really high, again, that can impact different systems of the body. So in the cases of, let's say, these autoimmune thyroid disorders, a lot of times it can be any of those causes. So we have to really investigate. And instead of just putting the person on thyroid medication, I'm really looking for, okay, what's the underlying cause for why their thyroid's not functioning properly?
And usually, why isn't their thyroid functioning? Is it because of these environmental?
Yeah, typically it's environmental, it's a lifestyle. Like let's say if you have too many toxins, your liver is not able to effectively clear those, or your gut is just a mess, like you have leaky gut, that actually blocks thyroid conversion to the active form of thyroid hormone. For instance, with Hashimoto's, a lot of times gluten is a biggie to get rid of because that can attack and make it worse. So yeah, it's a lot of factors.
Right. And what steps do you usually do to help start the reversal process, or at least start getting their thyroid back to where it needs to be?
Yeah. So first is the correct testing to make sure what truly is the root cause of why their thyroid's not functioning, and then it's implementing and treating based off of that root cause. So let's say if it's environmental, heavy metals, we got to detox their body. If it's gut health, give them probiotics, a good healthy diet. If it's high stress levels, which can also throw off the thyroid, then we got to make sure, again, address why are they stressed, and then provide their body with the right nutrients, minerals, herbal products to get their stress levels in as much manageable, way as possible.
Right. What type of supplements would you recommend for people my age, so 20 and up?
Yeah. So technically, if you're really healthy overall, you're not having any kind of major concerns, I would recommend a daily probiotic. Okay. I start people off on 25 billion, and it should be a brand that has a good diversity of the bacteria. I like the ones that are refrigerated, and the delivery method. So if it's enteric coated, it's usually better. So probiotics, a good multivitamin, again, a professional grade multivitamin, not the ones from some stores that you might see, because a lot of times these multivitamins come with fillers. They don't have as much of the nutrient or mineral that your body actually needs. So that's another one. Vitamin D, actually. A lot of people, and speaking of mood, people that experience depression, anxiety, a lot of times are low in vitamin D. So I can guarantee anybody you test who's not taking vitamin D, especially in Arizona where it's so sunny, because we're inside all day, or then it's too hot, and then you don't go outside, and when you do go outside by the pool, you're slathering sun lotion on.
Or under an umbrella.
Exactly.
Or a hat.
Yeah. So I suggest everybody get tested for their vitamin D levels and make sure that you have optimal levels. So probiotics, multivitamin, vitamin D. And then if you wanted to throw on top of that a fish oil, that's again pure, high quality, that would also be a great one, which for depression in particular, fish oils are also really recommended.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And I wanted to touch base really quick on the depression and anxiety that you said. Now I feel like I could talk forever. Your listeners are like, stop talking. You got me on a roll.
They need this. You
got me on a roll. All right. What was I gonna say? So with mood, so what I'd suggest is if anybody's experiencing either anxiety, depression, and they are not doing the lifestyle practices, do the lifestyle practices for a month or two. If you're not seeing an improvement in your mood, then I would say then work with a practitioner who can delve deeper, because there's many other, like I said, factors and causes that they do need further testing for. Unless they want to straight, right away go to the practitioner, that's recommended. But if they just wanted to start today something, I would recommend everything that we've talked about today. We need to test, let's say, their neurotransmitter levels, which are the chemicals the brain uses. We can test them for leaky gut, for those heavy metals, toxins. And then as treatments, I love homeopathic medicines for treating mental health issues because they're very specific to the person's needs. So one person's anxiety can be very different from another person's anxiety, which is why I love homeopathic medicine. And so, but there's so many roads that lead to Rome. So some people love acupuncture. That's another great source. Some people love, I don't know, energy healing, but there's just a lot of different alternative approaches that you can use.
Right, before going into medication.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, as you mentioned, sometimes if the depression is so severe,
Right.
or they're having suicidal thoughts, they might need to be on medications for a period of time, but then the ultimate goal is to truly get to the bottom of why they are not getting better.
Right.
And they don't need to depend on that medication for life.
Right. I think that's what gets to me the most is seeing some of the people that I know say, I need to take this. Like, I need, and just seeing the codependency on that medication. And, you know, it's one thing seeing them, and then I wish I knew what they felt so then I could be able to understand them. And but I also wish they knew how I felt so I could see that, you know, we don't need to depend on anything if we're healthy anyway. Maybe there is a chemical imbalance in our brain, you know, maybe it goes further than just a good diet and exercise and water intake, you know, but we won't know till we correct most steps anyway.
Exactly. Like, that's why, I love that. So get the basics down, the foundation of your body, make sure that's good to go, and then if you're still having symptoms.
Right. There, you can do something about it.
Exactly.
Basically what I wish I could help them understand. But it's humbling though, because I'm very grateful that I'm not depressed or anxious, and when I do get anxious, I know how to cope with it, I know how to deal with it and sort of center myself again. But having the friends that I've had and seeing them go through that, it's humbled me incredibly, because I'm like, I am very lucky that I maybe have the mindset that I do, or that I'm healthy in the way that I am, or that I'm aware and can not control it, but maybe, would you say it's control?
Manage it.
Because some people just straight up can't, you know, it's either too overwhelming or they don't have the tools to do it.
Exactly, And if it is some kind of a chemical imbalance, then it's much harder for them to just manage it with mindset. So that's what I love about health, and sometimes it's frustrating at the same time, is that it's so individualized based. And even like the same person, if you put them on the same plan, even if they're similar to a different person, they can respond so differently. Right. So it has to be individualized.
Right. It's not just one size fits all.
Exactly. Even with natural medicine, like I can give the same supplement to two people and they both will react differently for the same condition. So that's why, you know, I try to make it as individualized to their symptoms, their body type, their characteristics as possible.
So you really get to know people.
Oh yeah.
You really get to know them.
I do, yeah, but I love it. I can't help it.
Yeah. I think that's why I want to be a psychologist, because I love connecting with people. I love like diving in and, okay, why are you the way that you are, right? But I think your job is very rewarding. I wouldn't even call it a job, because, I mean, for you to go out of your way to learn more and study more, and you need to love what you do in order to do that.
Yeah, for sure. I feel very blessed and fortunate to be in this position, to have discovered this medicine when I did. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
I have some questions for you that they actually submitted.
Oh, okay.
And I totally forgot about them. But I have about 5. Actually, no. I picked the top 3.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one is, and I'm keeping everybody anonymous, how can I conquer my cravings? So they're super generic questions. You know, they're not going to be super detailed, but I got 3 of those questions. Okay. Craving control. So there's different causes again for cravings. So if you're having, let's say, a craving for sweets, it could be a mineral deficiency, usually magnesium or chromium. If you're not drinking enough water, that causes you to be more hungry.
and again, other minerals, typically mineral deficiency is at the cause of cravings. If they're not getting enough sleep and if you get little sleep, you end up finding yourself more hungry the next day. So top 3 things are those things: is sleep, hydration, and getting the right diet. And once you start to shift your diet, you will find naturally that your cravings get reduced. So if you're craving chocolate all the time, or you're craving chips, or whatever it is you're craving, because you're eating a diet full of the rainbow of vegetables, it takes care of all your mineral and nutrient needs.
Right. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you cover it all, basically.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
And then if you still are doing all those 3, again, if you find yourself having cravings, then it's a deeper issue that you got to get testing and work with a practitioner for.
A lot of people emotionally eat.
Thank you. I was going to say mindset. So, and I'm guilty of that from time to time if I feel more stressed than usual, or there's something emotional going on. But if you're doing it consistently, then it's just not good for your gut health, first of all, because you really shouldn't be eating between meals. If you do have a snack, it's okay, but like make sure you're not like grazing all day.
Right. Good. Damn. There's so much.
Oh, I know.
Sometimes I'm just so taken back. I'm like, there's so much. Okay. Can I really avoid GMOs? And is there a way that I can truly avoid GMOs?
So if you cook at home, for the most part, absolutely. And if you buy any kind of packaged foods, look for the label that says non-GMO. But if you do go out to eat frequently, then there's a good chance that they don't use non-GMO. They do use GMO vegetables, which is why if you are going to use a meal prep company, make sure that you ask if they're organic, if they are non-GMO. But that would be the best option, is to just cook at home as much as you can. Mm-hmm.
And then the last one was, do you recommend fasting? And do you recommend intermediate fasting, or just a long period of time fasting, or a meal a day?
Yeah. So I get that question a lot, actually. And I would say, again, number 1, it depends on your health status. So are you generally relatively healthy? Then you could do intermittent fasting. It's actually very good for you. But I would, again, tailor it to your body's needs. So become intuitive with what your body needs. If you find yourself, you're starting to do it and you're just not feeling well, then you might need to shorten the time frame. Because some people go like 16 hours or more. I think it is 16 hours without eating. But some people might need to do just 12 hours.
Right.
So it really depends on your body and your needs. But overall, yes, I think even fasting 1 day a week would be beneficial. But if you wanted to do intermittent fasting, also beneficial.
I love it. I feel aware. I feel awake. I feel like good to go.
Which one are you doing?
I do the 16-hour fast.
Okay, 16
So
hour.
I only
Nice.
eat from 12 to 8. And even then, if I don't want to eat as late, I do sometimes 10 to 6.
Okay.
And I feel great. I feel
perfect.
Aware. I feel, let's go, let's get things done. I don't know what it is. What about the fasting makes me feel so focused? So, I don't know. Great. What about it makes me feel so great?
Yeah, it's that you're giving, 1, your digestive system a chance to rest and digest. And 2, that you're starting to burn other sources for fuel. So you're burning off your glucose, and then you're going to burn off fats. So that's what will help your body to have more energy.
Okay. And my mom always gets me in trouble because she says, you need to eat breakfast, you need to this, you need to that. But does skipping that meal really do something bad for your body, or?
So again, if you're being consistent about your intermittent fast, then it shouldn't affect. I know that was the standard, but if you're literally doing like your 12 to 8, or I would actually recommend 10 to 6, but again, depends on your body's needs. Just because we recommend not eating 3 hours before bed. And if you're going to be in bed by 10, which I recommend, then you want to stop eating at 7. Just FYI. So, where was I? The intermittent fasting.
Last meal at 7,
Oh, breakfast. You said
Okay.
skipping breakfast.
Yeah.
So, but if you're skipping breakfast and you have an erratic eating schedule, then I would say that's probably not the best idea.
Okay. No, but I'm very consistent.
Okay, perfect.
I've been skipping breakfast since I was in high school. I've always fasted.
Yeah.
And it was until I graduated that I started eating more often, which led to the weight gain. And then now that I went back to my regular diet, but even more healthier now, I'm seeing results like that fast. But because I used to fast, and I feel good when I fast.
Yeah.
But that's, like you said, it's not the same experience for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I know someone else that just eats a meal a day, and they feel fantastic. I can't do that.
Yeah.
But the thing with them is they have their whole caloric intake.
I was gonna say, so the other thing is not just the fasting, but what are you eating during that 8-hour span?
Right.
Is really important, because if you are skipping a meal, then you still want to make sure for lunch and dinner you get all of the, not just the calories you need, but the nutrients that you need.
Right. So I eat a lot of greens.
Okay, good.
Salmon, chicken, rice or quinoa, avocados, sweet potato. I've been into kombucha.
Nice.
Oh my god, I love kombucha. Even though it tastes horrible, I feel amazing when I drink kombucha.
Nice. Because
the Life Probiotic.
Yeah, exactly. That's so great.
In the morning I have, it's fermented skim milk. It's Yakult. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Interesting. I haven't.
I'll show you. But it has Live Probiotic. I think 10,000. What is it? Bacteria. That and I love my digestive system now. But because I'm feeding it the probiotics that it needs, and that's what you touched on, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And probiotics do help in healing.
Oh, absolutely.
A leaky gut.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, but you have to follow it up with vegetables and.
Well, leaky gut, there's an inflammatory response, so the probiotics just help to replenish the bacteria, but you still need to give herbs and other anti-inflammatory nutrients to heal the lining of the gut.
That's right, because the lining is tight, right?
Yeah.
Usually, and then when we have leaky gut, I remember seeing it stuck with me. When we have leaky gut, the lining loosens, and then food particles.
Exactly. The spaces between the cells that are supposed to be tight, it gets leaky, and then,
causing toxins to go out
into the bloodstream, and then the immune system creates a response to things that, like, let's say the food that you just ate, it can attack that food particle.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It all comes down to diet, is what I'm looking at.
Diet, lifestyle, mindset, and if you're on medications, look at the types of medications you're on. So, again, it's always like all of these factors for any kind of health condition.
Yeah, but usually, like you said, the basics.
Yeah.
It's crazy how it's what we're supposed to be doing, we're not doing. And then how you said we're surprised why we're so sick, why we're so stressed, why we're so tired, why we're so this, it's because we're not getting or covering all the basics.
Exactly.
So I feel so, oh my god.
Oh.
I'm so healthy now. Wow.
You are. I'm so impressed.
I'm trying to be.
Yeah.
But also, like, I had a talk with myself, and I told you I had to look at me, look at what am I doing, how am I holding myself back, what do I need to do to put myself back on track. Just being honest with myself, because if I'm not honest with me, who am I going to be honest with?
Exactly.
And then from there, it's crazy, because once you start great in one area, it just disperses everywhere else. And I cut out toxic food, and then I cut out relationships that weren't helping me, and then I started doing healthy routines, started meditating more, and I'm just like, this is who I was meant to be. I was just being lazy, or that was my problem. I was being lazy, or I was unmotivated, or I just had so much going on at the time. But now I'm who I want to be. I'm so grateful for it.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. Yeah.
Thank you.
No, it's amazing.
But this is why I have this platform, though, because if I share this, even if I just inspire one person, I've done my job.
Exactly.
This is paying off. You know, the long nights editing and overthinking the content and all this stuff, if I just get one person to say thank you, I've done it. I'm fulfilled.
Yes. See, that's exactly what it's about.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Thanks for having me again. I really appreciate it.
Well, let them know where they can reach you, and again, your title, what you do, and hopefully we'll see each other again.
Yeah, I'd love that. So I'm Yas ND, naturopathic physician, and my website is dr.yasnd.com. So DRYAS, N as Nancy, D.com. I also am on Instagram and Facebook, and so usually I'll leave little health tips here and there on my social media pages.
And I'll link everything so they can find you, and hopefully get more clients that come from me, or questions and things like that. But definitely we'll have to keep coming back and keep everybody updated on new researches that you do, or just if anything that you want to share.